She's speaking from the Confident Communicator Manual number 5, The Body Speaks. Use stance, movement, gesture, facial expression, and eye contact to express the message and achieve the speech's purpose. Make body language smooth and natural. Focus on methods of delivery as well as speech contents. Macarena Torres, the subject is just breathe. 5 to 7 minutes. Woo! But you move the left turn. You leave it there, or you want me to go good?
The audience starts to quiet down, and the lights begin to dim. It had been 6 years since I last performed in front of any audience, and had almost forgotten what it felt like. I know I performed many times over, but never in ballroom dance. A year and a half ago, I decided to take on something I had never done before. Yes, I had danced since I was 4 years old in classical dance, ballet, jazz, modern, tap, African even, and a little bit of Irish, but never in ballroom dance. I had decided I wanted to quit when I was 25. I went through a couple of injuries and decided to let that part of my life go. But here I was, ready to perform in a dance style that I had little knowledge of. As I stood there waiting, I was surrounded by so many august dancers. Dancers that had been dancing since they were 3, 4 years old. They were freaks of nature, they weren't humans. The kind of dancers you see on Dancing with the Stars. And there I was, I found myself holding my breath. Why? Because there was a fear of uncertainty. Will I trip over my partner's feet? Will I lose my balance on the 2-inch heels I was dancing on? The only kind of shoes I was used to dancing in were either barefoot, ballet shoes, or pointe shoes. The only kind of shoes I really felt comfortable dancing in. I was uncertain of the outcome, and then I remembered. Just breathe. A few minutes ago, again, I felt the same feeling as I waited for my name to be called. Will I forget my speech? Am I prepared enough? Should I call in sick? I found myself once again holding my breath and doubting myself. But I knew that I was here for a reason. Fear of the uncertain can stop us from doing great things. We can at times get comfortable with our routine. It's scary doing something where we feel vulnerable and might fail or feel we may not be good enough in. Before the showcase, I thought this would be my very first and very last showcase. I said to myself, Mac, just get it over with. I probably will never do this again. So just go ahead and put it out there. I felt like a fish out of water. I said to myself, what am I really doing here? I wasn't comfortable. After we performed our solo, I found out that our solo won Best Solo of the Evening. And we got to perform it along with the professionals later that night. No pressure. But how can one really overcome this fear of uncertainty? Through my experience, it is through our thought process. Stop thinking about what is to come and start living in the now. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know whether you're going to fail or you're going to succeed. Most likely, the chances are you're going to succeed. And it excel much greater than what you thought you would. I was telling Julia this just a couple of minutes ago. For months, I had been praying about getting a dog. I wasn't sure. I was uncertain of what the future may bring. It had its pros and it had its cons. Pros would be, I would come home to a lovable face. The cons would be, I can't travel anymore. What am I going to do? But I went ahead and I did it. And I had so much peace when I adopted Gracie. She's been living with me for a week. It's been different. It's been crazy change, but it's been a positive one. And I would never, ever go back and say no. Another way you can overcome this is to become comfortable with change and start to embrace it. Change is an opportunity to open doors and discover something you may have never previously discovered before. It could change you as a person forever. For example, traveling. When I first traveled, I was insecure. I felt uncomfortable, but I came back a completely different person. That uncertainty that I felt wasn't there anymore when I came back, and I couldn't wait to travel again. Just like with the showcase, I couldn't wait to attend a showcase, and I decided that in January I would attend my very first ballroom competition. Pray for me. Mandy Howe said, you don't always need to plan. Sometimes you just need to let go and see what happens. I know God would never take us through waters too deep to stand in or too wide to swim across. It is through trust and faith that we overcome our greatest obstacles. We are in this for a reason. We are in this room for a reason. So relax, take it in, and just breathe.
If I could evaluate as well as I can follow dance, I would evaluate Stephen all the time. Unfortunately, I feel like to have to take 2 deep breaths of 4 or 5. I understand how it works. So speaking from the Confident Communications Manual, lesson number 6 on vocal voice variety. Use voice, volume, pitch, rate, and quality to reflect and add meaning and interest to the message. Use pauses to enhance the message. Use vocal variety smooth and naturally. Speaker number 2 is Sam Bailey. Speaking subject is the unknown.
There we go. We'll get this thing out of the way. So we've been hearing a lot the saying, life is like a box of chocolates. And we never know what we're going to get inside. I just so happen to pull out Confederate flags, sawed-off shotguns, and demons. And unconditional happiness. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, today I would like to give you a little briefing about my internship that I've been doing over the summer. It has been a delightful experience, but also a very interesting one. And I'll be talking to you today about 3 separate clients that I have visited. The first client was in a trailer park. We're driving along in the car, and of course I see the worst trailer in all the park, trash completely concealing the yard, and a Confederate flag in the front. I'm sitting there thinking in my head, no, this cannot be it. Michael just goes, yep, and we pull right on in. The gate has no trespassing and beware of dog signs on the front. Immediate red flag goes up in my mind. We're in a trailer park. This rains bulldogs. No way am I going to go into this house with potential bulldog in there. Michael walks on up to the gate, confident as can be, so I follow his lead. He comes inside, I also go in. And then a 90-pound Rottweiler comes sticking its head outside of the porch. And then the owner comes around. Oh my God. Okay, thank you. She welcomes us on into her house, which unfortunately isn't much better than the outside, which was concealed with all the litter. On the inside, the door is completely busted in. There's more dirt on the inside of the house than out. And the purpose for us being there is DCF have received a referral that there may be probable cause for the children to be removed from the home. Our position is the ones whom are in a bad situation, but it's not enough to pull the kids out. So we go in and we try to make improvements on the current house that they're at. She's sitting there and she's telling us how she was able to get the kids diapers, some extra snacks, things such like that. And she offers us a seat. Michael simply says he's a little tired of sitting because we had to do a very long drive. And I'm sitting there thinking in my mind, thank you so much. I do not want to touch anything in this house. However, as we're leaving, I noticed something that I hadn't before because I was so concerned about fleas crawling up my legs. It was a almost tangible love that the mother had for her children. It was powerful, never ending, and just a warm embrace. And it was something that I would have missed if I had not opened up my eyes. The second client wasn't as welcoming. We arrive at the house and we see a woman walk into the door. She gives us a weird look, opens it, and goes on inside. We figure, okay, this has to be our client. We'll go on in. The mother of the client opens the door for us, makes the announcement that we've entered the house, and from a distance we hear, hold on, I'm taking up. You fill in the blank. And of course, none of the doors were closed. The house was a very eccentric one. It was very decorative, fancy, expensive items all across the walls, but it was very cluttered. It was not done in a tasteful manner. And then there was these mason jars lined up across the counter with nothing else around them with snacks still in them. Alrighty, must need much. We'll get there in a minute. We sit on down at the table. The child looks very healthy. The mother has the extra caretaker because her mother is there as well, so the child's in no immediate harm. And we begin asking her random questions, such as, have you had any alcoholics in your family? No. Okay. Any drug use? Yes, I smoke marijuana. We work directly with DCF and you're telling us this? Come on. Any alcoholics in the family? No. Well, I did have 6 ounces of this, 12 ounces of that last night, and they were all mixed together. Okay. And you know why we're here today, right? Yeah, I do. All right, do you want to tell us a little bit about it? Sure. Well, my husband got mad, and he chased my mother-in-law outside the door in her underwear with a sawed-off shotgun. What? Michael, you didn't tell me about this before I entered the house? If she had a sawed-off shotgun, what other weapons does she have in there, which I am now sitting at a kitchen table, and I'm not worried about? Is there a grenade in the room? What's going on here? We got out of there a little quickly at that point. And at the end of the meeting, she was gracious enough to say that she may feel a little more comfortable with a female life coach instead. Relief came over me. The last client. I am extremely happy that this one was not actually mine. One of the other life coaches, Stacy, she was telling us about stories that she had, and one of them stood out to me, and I would like to share it with you today. She went into a home, and the life coaches are very good at picking up vibes. And one of the vibes she picked up was, okay, these people have a little extra fun on the side besides their marriage. Okay, this is probably not a good start. They welcome her into the house, the usual, maybe a little bit of clutter, maybe a little bit of dirt, nothing to be too concerned about. And then in the centerpiece of their living room, there is a mirror with a ram's head at the top with 3 horns and Wiccan symbols all across it. Because I am a religious individual, I like to educate myself on different spiritualities. And Wiccan at its surface, it's kind of cutesy. It, gets a little bit in tune with nature, flirts with the ideas of spirits. In its core, though, it's straight witchcraft. And it is not something to be reckoned with. And they jokingly said, I think our son's being oppressed by a demon. And they showed a picture of their son sitting on the couch, and shows an orangish, reddish outline of a tracing of a figure right next to him. I'm as skeptical as the next person. However, either these people were crazy enough to somehow fake a photo for the life coach to come in, or to his natural demon sitting next to their son. Either way, Gus, could you go ahead and bless this for me? I think I'm going to be needing it.
Bring it.
At the end of these very interesting meetings, and as she was telling us the stories, I realized this is where the life coaches get their refill, their little therapeutical sessions. And this is where I had a moment of August. This is how they get by. See, the life coaches, the 3 stories I told you, were rather extreme cases. Not extreme in general, but they were on the harsher end. We've also helped out single moms who have no idea what they're doing. Kids, 5, 6 maybe of them, who have been through abusive situations. A little blind girl who was neglected at birth for 7 years and now has stunt growth and is now working through the different social aspects of it. And the school called DCF because the parents are overwhelmed. These are the kind of cases that the life coaches are able to do. And I am happy to be a part of it. Mr. Toastmaster.
Our third speaker is Alexandra Balder, confident communicator. She's speaking on special speaking subject number 1, speaking off the cuff, with the delivery this morning of her last project out of the Specialist Speeches Manual. Alexandra will be completing the Advanced Communication Bronze level. This particular project, impromptu speaking, requires for Alexandra to write down 5 general topic areas which she's familiar with. She gave them to her speech evaluator, Julia Kaufman, before the meeting. Julia will select 1 at random, and Alexandra will deliver a 5 to 7 minute impromptu speech on that subject. Please help me welcoming our third speaker, Alexandra Balter, and her speech evaluator, Julia Kaufman. And somebody will be picking the subject. Who is picking the subject?
I am.
Evaluate.
Oh, you are picking the subject.
Yes. So it is question number 3. What had been the most humiliating interview in your life?
What has been the most humiliating interview in my life? Fellow Toastmasters, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, for such an august introduction. But Stephanie said I didn't use that correctly, so I'll do it another try. Let's take a look and a tour to the past first. From popping buttons out of my shirt in the middle of an interview, and my shirt was open, and I didn't notice. Ouch. Yes, ouch. So I wonder I didn't get the job. Going to knowing that the person that was interviewing me when we went into conversations was the same person that my husband fired many years ago. I didn't get the job either. Let's take a tour now to the present. Well, to the present kind of past, because that happened last November. I was interviewing for a job, and I flew to Chicago in the middle of the winter. How exciting! Me being a Caribbean person, a Florida person, I was not prepared, starting with my dress code. I was wearing my pretty boots for an interview. I get out of the taxi, and I almost slipped. I mean, the whole thing was ice everywhere on the street. So I was kind of walking, going to the building. It took me probably like 30 minutes getting to the building, slippery. And then I got into the office, and I was introduced to the CEO, and he has this poker face. Have you get those before when you're interviewing? Like you're trying to smile, kind of connect with the person, and the person has a poker face. So, so she got that. I tried to make connection, and it didn't happen. The person told me, well, go ahead and do a presentation in front of everybody. It was a board of people, of what you do, what you did on your previous job. Now think about it, something that you do on a daily basis.
you should be able to nail it, to know it. That it's like, you know what you're doing at your job. But that question came to me, and I was prepared, I studied. But that question came to me like asking a fish, tell me, how do you swim? I swim, the fish probably is going to say. I don't know how to explain that. So it's an analogy that you know what you're doing on a daily basis at your job, but you don't know how to verbalize it. Taking this experience to the present, it taught me perspective. It taught me don't take things for granted. Don't think that, oh, because I've been doing this for 20 years, my career, yeah, I'm going to nail it. It took that experience for me to, obviously, I didn't get the job. I was so blank when he asked me, present what you do on a daily basis. And I know what I do on a daily basis, and I should know better, but I got blank. It's almost like table topics. I got completely blank. I didn't get the job. I went back home and took things in perspective and said, you know what, I have to study. I have to study how to interview. Because in the past, interview was a conversational thing. Was to find out, you know, if you have the credentials, and if the person likes you and you like the person, you pretty much got the job. That's what my recruiter told me, by the way. He told me, you can have all the credentials in the world, and the person who is interviewing you doesn't like you, for X or Y, you're not getting the job. So you have to make sure that you are likable when you're interviewing. You try to connect with the person. You're trying to look into those little small conversations. How can you connect with that person? It took me that moment to understand that I was unprepared. And I had to go back and buy some courses online on how to interview. A simple question as, what are your weaknesses? It has a meaning. It has a purpose. And I didn't know. And people tend to answer, no, I don't have any weakness. Well, everybody has weaknesses. So that's the wrong answer, saying I don't have any weaknesses. So I learned that you have to come up with a weakness that you really have and explain how would you overcome that weakness. For example, I'm a super perfectionist and I don't like to delegate. That's a weakness. And I told in future interviews, I'm a perfectionist, I'm a control freak, that's a weakness. However, I'm working on learning to start delegating to other people and working as a team. That's just an example, but just to give you an idea how an interview process has changed dramatically from the past, back in the days, how today a person is being interviewed. Recruiters, they don't forgive anything. They go question after question after question after question, trying to find the profile that will match to the perfect position. They do a lot of interviews over the phone. I learned that was new for me. I was not interviewing for 11 years, so this is a new concept. Getting 3-4 interviews over the phone. Local people. This is local people. Don't think, oh yeah, they're in California, that's why they have to do an interview over the phone. This is local people. 3-4 interviews over the phone before they put you in front of someone. So that's something that it took a lot of humiliation from situations, but the positive side, I don't see them as a bad thing. It's just I took them as a learning experience to make me better. And I know the job that I started in February by studying and by learning from previous fails. That's my share for today. And I hope I was able to answer your question. Thank you, Mr. President.
Stephen Morgan, Evaluating Macarena Torres.
When Macarena walked in and I said, oh, I need your manual, and she's looking at me going, oh, you're evaluating me? Just breathe. Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, Emma as well.
This is the Your Body Speaks project, your fourth speech, and you are well beyond what a fourth speech would look like, by the way. You showed great sincerity. You are clearly enjoying the topic you were telling us. A very august presentation, indeed. You had even little bits of humor in there, including the freaks of nature. A little bit of setup and then that misdirection made things quite entertaining. You had an excellent structure that you had in place with the intro, trying to set the mood there, the different stories, and then the analogies that came back and forth, and tying it back up with a very nice conclusion. That structure put together very well. Being that Your Body Speaks is supposed to be about body language, the one thing I noticed that was very well done was when you did pros and cons, because you took pros off to one side, turned around, did cons off to the other side. That distinction, the comparison contrast, is an excellent way to use the body there. But a couple things you also were doing was a lot of weight shifting and a lot of taking onto one foot or the other, which can be dangerous if you lose balance, but also shows a bit of uncomfortable. And the other part that really made me stick out is here you starting talking about ballroom dancing and how you've done the dance. It's like, oh man, there's your opportunity to show us a few, if you were willing to show. That's kind of going a bit over the top, but it could make it entertaining. One piece that I would like to toss out, this is something that takes a bit of getting used to. Because when you're writing the speech, and what that opening sounded like, it sounded like a great opening to an article, a blog post, maybe a chapter of a book, something I would read. But it's not the same way that you speak. So when writing a speech, you want to write in the way that something should be said versus something the way it should be read. We tend to speak more in fragments, shorter sentences. Descriptions are great, but not long ones. It's a lot different, and if you do a lot of reading, it's a tendency to write a lot of that way. So I would have to say pick up maybe a few more videos of the way people speak to see how it's a little bit different. That's the best thing I could toss out there. The writing was great, but it's not quite the same way as a speech would be. Your message, though, fear of uncertainty and the being comfortable with change, I love that, and I have been waiting to hear more and more people saying more about it, because the fear is unnecessary and change is always going to happen whether you like it or not. Getting comfortable is definitely the best way to work with it. By the same token, I should let you know, despite all the fear and the uncertainty, was it quite so bad? Get comfortable with evaluations, and then you'll find out that that change is even less of something to worry about. Mr. General Evaluator.
Toastmasters and especially Sam. The topic of your speech was unknown, correct?
Yes.
And when you have a topic that is unknown, you really don't know where it's going to lead to. Your project was vocal variety, and I have august respect for what you do. Because by the end of the speech, I was able to figure out what unknown was. It was a very eye-opening speech. You used no notes. You had fantastic eye contact. You used pauses, and you used your hands. So you were standing in front, and for someone that is in their sixth speech, it takes a lot of practice for most to know when to use their hands. Sometimes it can even look a little robotic, and you did it in a natural way. I would suggest, because of the topic, the guide, vocal variety, that your pauses be a little bit longer.
Okay.
And because you were trying to deliver so much information, you had 3 stories. A suggestion would be to narrow it down to 2 stories so that you can take your time and thoroughly add to those pauses. So versus a pause being at about 2-3 seconds, maybe you could have made it 5, because those that maybe could have gotten distracted, when you use a pause effectively, it will bring everybody back in. what is DCF? I still don't know. So I would explain what that is because I still don't know at this point, but I kind of figured it out. So changing the title from unknown to Adventures of a Life Coach, I think could be a suggestion to help that. The best part about the speech was the humorous analytics. And I know that you might be able to use that for a future project because your perspective on making it a positive experience versus for some it would be a very sad experience to see some of the stories that you shared. So try to decide what stories you want to share. Practice timing yourself so that you can make it more impactful. And honestly, for your 6th speech with the humor and the analytics and already using your hand gestures, you are well on your way. So I look forward to your next speech. Thank you.
And last for the individual evaluations today, we have Julia Kaufman evaluating Alexandra Volta's speech.
Good morning, Toastmasters, and but especially Alexandra. Great pleasure to be your evaluator because you are an august speaker. You took a specific and personal question and turned it into an inspirational speech. You really did. I was totally engaged with your message and in awe that you did it in such an elegant manner, talking about a humiliating experience in your life. I loved the opening. You grabbed the attention by saying your buttons popped. I mean, it just made me smile. I'm like, she's talking personally, because that is an embarrassing situation. It's happened to me, so any woman that it's happened to, they're like, yep, I can understand that. Wow, especially in an interview. Alexandra is working out of the specialty speech, and her project was in an impromptu speech. She was told to come up with 5 different questions, and that one question would be asked. So while it's not exactly a table topic question because she could prepare and be ready, it was still that impromptu because you have to think off your feet. What a perfect situation to formalize what the question was and interview, because it's the same situation. You come in and you illustrated that by the way that you said, I was prepared. I had coached, I knew what to do, but when I got there, I realized how unprepared. So through the experiences, you gave us a learning ability to, hey, I need to learn from my mistakes, embrace those situations that are embarrassing and humiliating, and make lemonade out of lemons. And that's exactly what you did, and that was the inspirational message that you gave us that I really appreciated in it. Some of the questions that were asked to evaluate her on are, how effective did the speaker organize his or her ideas? And you, as an experienced speaker, repeated the question. And while you repeated it, you were formalizing how you were going to begin. You gave a strong opening, I loved that, and you followed through with different experiences that you had. Well developed, well prepared. An area for opportunity was your close. You were so strong throughout, even like almost at the ending, but then you went blank a little bit, and like I could see you running through your head. How is my close going to be? And then it was just like, I'm done here. So think about that close, and that's the only critiquing that I had. Some of the things that I loved again were the enthusiasm, the eye contact. When you get up here, you just glow. You're a natural, and I don't know if you realize how effective you are when you get up here, but you've got so much enthusiasm. When I say you're a best speaker, I mean you're inspirational. You grab the audience attention. It gives me chills that you're that effective. One area that it made me smile because it was the accent. You were saying what I thought you were saying, witness. And I'm like, that's a new term I've never heard, and I can't wait for you to expand on it because I don't know what that is. You were meaning weakness. So that's the only word to work on there. And again, have a stronger close, and you were wonderful as I spit out trying to tell you what I would say. Can't wait to hear your next one. Well done. Thank you.